What's happening, team? Hope message finds everybody well. Welcome back to the Built for Pressure podcast with me, Will Foden. Today, I'm going to be going over something that I've currently and have struggled with, not just now, but over my whole lifetime, is actually learning how to switch off whilst being away. If you're a high achiever, if you're entrepreneurial, if you're pushing your vocation to its limits and you actually want to progress and perform at your best, I know exactly what it feels like. And something that I always would say sing true when it comes down to me talking around high performance is that I'm a human first too. I have struggles, I have challenges, and I am not perfect. And something that I've struggled for a long period of time is the identity around me being a workhorse. When I was a rugby player, when I played as a back row, everyone knows I'm a sausage with legs, and I am not tall. I'm not built for lineouts. I was built for one thing and one thing only, and that was tackling and being violent. I wanted to be in the middle of the war zone the whole time, and work rate was my only currency. That's probably the reason why I signed professionally, but it's also probably the reason why I didn't reach any higher, that apart from me having a major knee injury. Take that aside, probably would have played a little bit higher if I wasn't so honed true on work rate and being involved in having a scrap. But I've just come back from 2 weeks away. I luckily enough, those that have sort of followed the journey, yes, I work online, so I have the ability to work anywhere. So we're taking doing things differently from a position of me and Rach went down to Devon and obviously George and the dog. So we were with my family for a week, and then we went to Cornwall for a week, and then we went to Devon for a week with Rachel's family. The biggest piece that I felt, and something that which if you struggle while switching off, is actually the thing of guilt when you are actually having to do work whilst being away too. I talked about this quite a lot, to be honest, and that's around, there's two pieces of the puzzle that you need to sort of understand. One is what's your heart want, what does your ego want? My ego wants impact, freedom, status, and wants more money. My heart on the other hand, it wants to be connected, it wants to be still, it wants to be calm, and it wants to be focused on my family and watch my boy grow up. And when I was away, I actually found that very difficult to start with, because I've just come off the back of a huge bout of work. I was going away, which actually for me, those that again who understand my process, when I'm in my office, I'm a different person to when I'm outside my office. So when I'm outside my office and I'm with my family, I'm caught between being a professional and being a dad, and being a husband and all the other stuff. So that's what I struggled with. And actually, when I was firstly away with my family, the game plan was to work a little bit and then obviously to have a bit of time off. The reality though is the first couple of days I actually massively struggled with this. And actually what happened was I didn't have anxiety. I don't like the word, I don't like strapping terms to things, because I think they're more, emotions are just signals, yeah? Emotions aren't actually real things. And I had this weird anxious guilt around me actually needing to do some form of work. There was also another piece of this puzzle which we're going to explore too, because I was lucky enough to have those that who've listened to the last episode. I completed a mental performance course through the coaching room in Australia, and in that comes a thing called the identity compass. Now, what that is actually a processing document which talks around how you actually operate. I actually had my results come back whilst I was out there, and it was really, really enlightening to see how I learn, how I act, how I process information, but more so the reason why I actually work rate is probably one of my number one drivers. And that's because I have an achievement complex that is performance driven. I want growth. That's what I want. And I'm extremely resilient to that. My actions for me are short term, i.e. meaning that once I know the thing, I want to clip the thing and then move. When you're away and you've got a little boy who's not sleeping very well, you're trying to enjoy your family's company as well as actually it's to streamline your work process so you don't have to be full send. Actually, my ego was telling me that I was struggling. The realistic truth was I wasn't. What I was actually struggling to do was I had such a vice grip of my business, a vice grip of my process. I was unwilling to let it go. I was unwilling to just let the game play, let the game run, let the play come off and see what happens. What I was trying to do was strategize and battle plan so that I could have best of both worlds, which actually, those that know, a man or woman chasing many rabbits will catch none. What happened there was, I was neither in the room with my family, or I was neither providing the best service for my clients. What I was doing was just being pissed off the whole time. Only for the first few days before. This sounds like I'm going on saying I was being a wanker. Excuse my French. I wasn't being a wanker. This is more internal. But actually, after I had these results and I got them back, and actually realised that actually the human side of me was the bit that I needed working on, what I actually took was actually had a perception shift. And what that perception shift was actually, what did I want my outcome of the next 2 weeks to be? Because I talk about this and I deliver this inside the program in relation to cycles of behavior, and there's a seasonality of performance is massive. The association with being on all the time actually is the reason why you're usually either burnt out, frustrated, pissed off, or your standards are starting to slip. Currently, my standards aren't slipping. I was in a position where I wouldn't let that happen. So when I go away personally, what I do is I use high performance as a dial. It's not a light switch. So an example, right now, usually when I'm at home, I've got 3 gym sessions, 1 or 2 runs and 2 jiu-jitsu. Whilst I was away, I clipped the most amount of mileage I've done in a year. So I ran 3 or 4 times a week. I did 1 gym session over the 2 weeks, and I did 3 bodyweight workouts. Now, for somebody who I'll say that my strength is actually my physical strength, I came back and I hit PB numbers across the board because I hadn't let myself slip. I hadn't let my nutrition go down the bin or down the toilet. And what I'm finding and seeing across many professionals' processes is when they go away, that's their green light for decompression. And their association with decompression is send themselves into oblivion, i.e., get on the piss, eat loads of shit, don't go to bed, don't treat themselves with respect in relation to their athleticism, and vice versa. What they do then is they get back and they're overwhelmed, frustrated, and pissed off that they look like shit, they feel like shit, they've got no energy, and actually they need a holiday after a holiday because all they've done is tender to everybody else's process. So back to my process personally, I took that and I ran with it. I decided to let go of that vice grip of me wanting to just keep on achieving and recognize actually achievement was in a different thing. The achievement was watching my son run around on a beach like an absolute nutter. The achievement was going to have food with my family on top of Pencana, which is a very special place for my family, and going in the sea. Achievement is not all encompassing on one thing, and it actually took me a bit of time to recognize that because for the long period of time I've been chasing a lot of business growth. But there has been a huge underlying feeling of I've wanted to have a break with my family. In a month's time, just over, we head to British Columbia, which is going to be obviously in Canada. And actually, that's going to be my first holiday with no tools, no work at all. Me working in 3 years. Scares the shit out of me, being honest. I'm going to do an episode on that and explain how I'm operating with that, how my customers are going to be dealing with it, and how I'm working it as a business. But the frame that whilst you are trying to attain both, and why you may be struggling is because you see that your high performance is a balancing act. It is not a balancing act. It's an integrated act. So this is what I did. Is when I was actually working, I looked at my diary in relation to what I was actually doing, and there's one frame that I looked at, which was a traffic light system. Things that were in red, they had to be done non-negotiable. They push my business to where it needs to go. Whether it was coaching, whether I had to have calls, whether it was check-ins, whether it was marketing, things that needed to happen, they happened. They got penciled in early doors, they got penciled in the evening, and I just had to communicate that with Rachel, my family, and her family, that this is what was happening, just so that I could actually get some headway. 2, I actually took responsibility on one day, and I didn't go out with the family. Why? Because what that did was I got my most of my week's work done in a day. That gave me the rest of the week to do it. So all I had to do, I was in cruise control for the last 3 days, and I didn't have to work anywhere near as much, so I could be more connected. Lastly, I didn't look for perfect. I looked for practical, and what was actually practical to do there. There were things that did not happen because I chose the other option, which was connection. Actually, having connection is going to give me energy. If I'm going to have energy, I'm going to have more passion and more ferocity when I am delivering, and whether it is my marketing, my messaging, or my podcast, for example, rather than just trying to do more for more's sake. And lastly, is when what I decided to do was I decided to frame the high performance piece of you got to do what you preach. And I tell people that they need to step back. And when I coach people, I deload people. When I coach other people, I'll make sure that they switch their phone off and tell everybody else to fuck off. I actually do the same. Because, like I said to you before, we talked around in relation to, don't talk about the standard, show me the standard. And I was lucky enough to go away on the Friday, the first Friday, to go and see my coach, Dan Reeve. Shout out to him and his lovely lady, Paula, and his dogs. And we went to the beach in Rock, and it was amazing. like I said, the lemon was worth the squeeze. I got so much out of just having some connection there that I was on fire when I had the week after. And lo and behold, my business didn't fall over. My momentum wasn't ceased. And actually, being candid, we've had 2 new people, just shout out Ray and Annika. They jumped back on board this heading into August. Things are good. My point being for this, and something that I would love you to take away, the biggest war you're going to have is with yourself. The biggest war is not what you need to do in your business. It's not what you need to attain. It's not what you need to buy. It's not what you need to, how much fucking money's in your Stripe account, whatever it is, or what raise you're getting. The biggest war of a high performer is regulating their emotions and being able to deal with them real time. I'm in the middle of processing that. And some things that I'd love you to sort of take away from this are compulsion is the thing that's going to kill your progress. You just doing for the sake of doing, not all effort is equal. And this is the key piece of that puzzle. The number one thing that you need to take away from this is you need to know what direction you're going into and what actions need to be taken for that. Because some of them, they have to happen. If you're entrepreneurial, that's part of the game. But there's a lot of actions that you're doing that don't need to happen. There's a lot of things that you're micromanaging because you're unwilling to give up control. There's a lot of things that you're putting your nose into, trying to see what's happening because you're trying to preempt if something bad happens instead of being present and being where your feet are. These are all pieces of the puzzle that a high performer will struggle with right now if you cannot go, if you feel like you can't go away and you can't switch off. And lastly, the other piece of the puzzle for you to recognize is that you have to get to a stage of acceptance as fast as you possibly can. Many people think that growth is linear. Growth is not linear. And if you look at it from the body, growth actually happens whilst recovering. I've actually got a client who texted me when I got back. She's been away for 2 weeks. She's barely trained. Looks better naked and feels better. Because she smashes it, work and her performance. Like the girl sends it. And she got back from holiday after 2 weeks and not be tracking her food or anything. Because we said to have some time off, and lo and behold, she texted me, so I look great. Point being, if you want to be a scientist, from our perspective of reduced cortisol, reduced inflammation, and actually some parasympathetic drive rather than sympathetic drive, lo and behold, the body actually does what it needs to do. So my point being is you need to hold yourself to a higher standard whilst you're away. When you're away, don't treat yourself like a dustbin. Actually treat yourself like an athlete as usual. That doesn't mean I still have fish and chips and I Cornish pasties and if I wanted a beer, I would have a beer or whatever. That's not what I did. I got my basics in. 2, I communicated very well with my spouse, with Rach and my mum and her family, what needed to happen and what I did, what if it could happen, great, and if it didn't, no problem. And lastly, recognizing that high performance is also in the downtime, not just in the uptime. And it's taken me a long time for me to be able to deal with that and for me to be able to take that on the chin and move with it compared to what I used to do is that, like I said, as a rugby player, I'd fight everything. And I'd also fight that. I'd fight the feeling that I wasn't good enough or that if I wasn't working, I wasn't making it or I wasn't leading by example. Where actually being more effective at what I do needs time, needs space, needs creativity and needs connection. That's the key piece of the puzzle for leadership performance right now is rife with just adding more to your process. I guarantee that'll get you nowhere. If you like this episode, if you resonate with it, if you're struggling whilst you're away or if you've just got back to work and you've had your holiday and you currently feel like you're not leading yourself, your personal standards have dropped and you're not quite sure how to elevate your performance across the board with your mind, body or your business, our August intake is happening on August the 4th. If you'd like to know more about how Built for Pressure works, how it could help you, and more to the point, give you the keys to your car back for your professional, personal and physical performance, DM the word August and I'll be happy to show you. If you like the episode too, please share it with somebody. If you resonate with the message, massively appreciate you. Next week, what we'll be going over is a couple of last pieces of the puzzle from our Sleep Mastery and Accelerator program, and vice versa. We've actually got some amazing interviews with some incredible leaders across the board who are operating in the high performance space, which I'm actually going to go and shoot next week. Anyway, I digress. Good to see from you. Massively appreciate all the support. Do let me know this message resonates, and I'll catch you soon.